Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Do you read me? Am I live?
We are live, baby.
Wonderful. Welcome to Hyperfixation of the Week, where we shall spin you a tale of mystery and wonder of legends of old. I will be your bard for this afternoon, Jordan.
I shall be the Viking Skull, and I am Phoenix.
They have insisted that I am the minstrel. I am Victoria.
She didn't know any other storytellers.
My minstrel. So, let's just hit this. Let's just hit this right off the bat.
Wait, no, real quick. Isn't there a type of storyteller that tells stories specifically through fiber art?
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's just hit this right off the bat. Mythology is one of those topics we wanted to do since we started this show.
Yep. So,
Because we're all very passionate about it.
I grew up with Rick Riordan, which means I now have exposure to Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, Norse mythology, a little bit of, some Hindu mythology, but not, the current one, and a little bit of Mayan. But I know lots of mythology, because it's very fun to learn about.
I unintentionally learned parts of Hindu and what are other, folk tales from India from my classmates in high school. Because, well, obviously I've mentioned I went to a high school that had a lot of Indian students, but also because for some reason, Quiz Bowl is obsessed with Hindu and Indian mythologies.
Oh, we got Greek a lot at my high school's trivia club.
Greek also comes up a lot, but for some reason the second most common was Hindu.
Pay no mind to the sound of me taking off my jacket.
I will. My first exposure was almost definitely Rick Riordan in some way. That wasn't the last, though. I also don't think... Wait, that wasn't the first. I definitely started with one of those Mythology for Kids storybooks.
Yes.
Yo.
Yes, that's where I started. And where I ended up was obsessively watching informational videos about mythology on YouTube, and then not being satisfied with that, and then doing my own research, and then not being satisfied with that, and then getting books about it, and then not being satisfied with that, and then doing projects about it, and then not being satisfied with that, and here I am.
And then you end up back watching the Percy Jackson TV show that comes out next month.
Oh my
Well, this-
god,
next
I
month.
This
cannot
month.
wait.
What?
Oh my god,
It's
I
this
can't
month.
wait.
Soon?
Yeah, it's in a few weeks.
It's coming out this month. I took Latin because of my passion for mythology. That's how...
Dude, it's so good. Okay, wait. I'm just gonna ask the most important question. What mythos is your favorite?
You're making me pick a favorite child.
I love Greek and Roman mythology unabashedly. That's
How
my
about this?
Percy Jackson kid coming out.
Instead
I
of
love
saying
Greek mythos.
what my favorite is, how about I give you a reason to love them all over the course of this show?
Oh, can we start with the silly one? Norse mythology.
Norse mythology is very fun, and I like it very
Okay,
much.
I'm gonna start off with my favorite Norse mythology story. So,
Is this about Loki?
No, Mjolnir. Okay, only the worthy can hold Mjolnir.
Are you about to do the friggin' Thor gets married bit?
Yes. So,
God.
no,
Dude.
no. So, Mjolnir, only the worthy can hold Mjolnir, right? That's bullshit. No, shit's just heavy. It's just really heavy. Thor has to wear these special gauntlets that make him stronger in order to hold it. So one day, a couple giants went, you know what? Let's do this. And a bunch of them just got together, 4 or 5 of them, grabbed it, picked up Mjolnir, and just walked away with it. So they went, okay, cool. Now, what are we gonna do? All right, we'll give you Mjolnir back. We'll give it back. But Thor, you guys, give us Freya. We want to marry Freya. We want to marry the pretty woman. So the gods went, okay, we'll do that. They set up the marriage. Except
Maybe you should have specified who Freya is.
the goddess of love and beauty, she's cool.
Also, doesn't she have a chariot pulled by cats?
Yes.
That too.
But
And also very much not on the marriage market at the time.
no. And if you do, her brother will try and kill you.
Love to see it.
God of peace and summer, Frey. He's really cool. He has a sword that floats. You let go of the sword and it attacks people. But back to the story. So they go, okay, we'll set up the marriage. But Freya didn't want to do it. She doesn't want to marry some giants. So they go, okay, Thor, we need you to dress up in drag. Put on this wedding dress and put this veil over your face, all right? Okay, cool. So now when you show up, you're going to show up, you're going to walk down the aisle with the veil over you so they don't know it's you. Let's not mention the fact that Thor is a big, beefy, probably a big, beefy guy, doesn't look like Freya at all. But he gets there, and he goes down the aisle, and he grabs Mjolnir, and then he slaughters them all.
Because it's funny.
And
It's
this,
funny
this
that
story,
they put Thor in drag.
This story of Thor in drag is the inspiration behind Nora and Ruby.
There's a lot of really fun stories with Norse mythology.
Nah. May I tell you one of my favorite tales?
Yep.
This is one I learned later on in life, once my passion for mythology went from, these books about Greek mythology are pretty cool, to, oh my god, the entire world has something to offer me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would like to tell you a story from West African folklore.
Ooh.
Do you know the tale of Anansi?
Yeah, the
Maybe?
spider.
The tale of Anansi is the tale of a spider boy who brought about the very advent of storytelling, because the gods were selfish and self-righteous and kept the very right to tell and receive stories to themselves. And Anansi went to the gods and said, "It's boring as hell down here. Can I get some stories from y'all?" And they said, "Hell nah." And he said, "Alright, I'll earn them from you. I will do, like, whatever tricks, whatever games, whatever silly things you want me to do." And they said, "Fine. Go get these, like, horrible, unattainable things." And I'm not going to recount the entire story, because it's one of those myths that, like, it lists off
Like,
whole
it's like
tasks.
the foundational thing.
It's the Trials of Hercules
It's the
type
task
thing.
after it was only a few creatures that he had to tackle, but it was, like, basically the whole foundation of the story was that he used classic storytelling tropes and adventure tropes to defeat them, because no one knew about these tropes.
That's funny.
Like, there was one part where there was a snake that he had to capture and bring to the gods to earn back storytelling. And
Wait, before you say, can I just say what I'm imagining? Two options. Because I grew up with Looney Tunes. I'm imagining either they tied the snake into a knot, or they picked it up by its tail and started whapping it side to side.
I have a better one for you.
I-
Because here's the thing, Anansi was a different kind of hero, because instead of having strength and power, he was just smart and cheeky. So what he would do was he went up to the snake and he said, "Hey, the gods are keeping all the stories to themselves. Would you mind coming with me to bribe them?" And the snake said, "Hell nah." He said, "I hear that a lot. Understandable. Can you... Alright, you have a good day." And then he leaves. And he comes back, but like a few yards away, with a really big stick. And he goes out loud, And the snake's like, "Alright, what's wrong with you?" And he said, "Well, I can't figure out if you're longer than this stick. Would you mind laying down next to it to see?" And the snake said, "Sure." And he said, "No, I can't quite tell. It looks like the stick's still a little longer. Can you slither up a little bit?" And so the snake lines up perfectly with the stick, and they ties the snakes to the stick, and he takes the stick to the gods. And he says, "Hey, I got that snake you wanted."
I love the clever hero, because, okay, I'll admit to this, because we're going to ask eventually. Okay, first, who's your godly parent, Rick Riordan?
Oh my god, I don't even know.
I'm an Athena kid. I'm clever.
I don't know, man. Who
Because-
do you think I am?
Apollo.
How did I know you were going to say that, and how was I also thinking that?
Apollo or one of the 9 muses, because you're creative mother. Yeah, but, so, Odysseus, he's Athena's favorite hero.
Oh, I thought we were going to get to Odysseus. I'm not even done with Anansi.
I just want to do this one story real quick.
Alright.
So, him and his buddies were trapped on this island with the Cyclops. So what does he do? He turns off the lights and goes, and starts talking to the Cyclops.
Oh,
"Who are
fucking-
you?" "Nobody." "Okay, nobody. What are you doing?" "Nothing." "Where are you?" "Nowhere." And eventually he just stabs the Cyclops in the eye.
The whole story of Odysseus is very funny. Like that one time that his whole crew got turned into pigs, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that Anansi goes around the land tricking all of these creatures into being captured to exchange to the gods for the power of storytelling. And there's like this tiger that he's like, "How am I going to capture a tiger? I'm such a tiny little spider and it's such a huge hole in the ground." Makes a hole in the ground, covers it with sticks and leaves, and because no one knows about that story trope yet, it falls in because it doesn't know. And then he takes the tiger and then there's a fairy that he has to capture, so he sets up a little puppet with a bowl of honey, but it has glue in it. And takes the glued up fairy to the gods and goes, "I got your thing."
I love
got your thing.
stupid Norse myths. Like, I can't remember exactly why, but there is one point where Loki convinced Thor's wife to shave her head.
Oh, that was funny. That was funny.
Loki
Loki?
is really cool. So let's start. Hey, Jordan, what's Loki's gender?
whatever is necessary to give birth to the monsters.
Whatever he feels like it. Fun fact. Hel, Jormungandr...
Also true, though, whatever is necessary to give birth to monsters.
So Odin's personal steed, it's an 8-legged horse. Yeah, Loki's the mother of that horse.
Loki is a mother and father of many things.
I want to make sure everyone knows. I didn't say it wrong. He is the mother of that horse.
He turned into a mare and gave birth to an 8-legged horse, which means that Odin is riding his son-in-law?
Cousin.
Cousin?
They're actually cousins.
Riding his cousin into battle.
No. Loki is Odin's, cousin.
So, cousin once removed.
Yeah. Also, one thing I want to make sure true about Norse myths. Norse myths has a big thing about the gods versus the giants. Bro, they're just the same, bro. They're just the same. They're really just the same. They're different
really
clans.
not, though.
It boils down to the gods and the giants, just common ancestor.
Yeah. Let's stop recounting silly specific myths and shall we get into the monomyth?
Wait.
Shall we get into a mega monomyth?
No, wait. I have one that I wanted to mention real quick. This is one that comes up a lot in Quizbowl.
All right, you get your fun story, and then we go into monomyth.
2, this is one that my classmates would talk about a lot because, like I said, a lot of them are Hindu and whatever. I forgot which gods it takes place regarding, but it was something about 2 of them had to run around the world, and their mother was like the personification of the planet or something. And so one of them, being a cheeky little bastard, just runs around his mother.
Wait, I've heard this one.
I forgot who the gods were in this story.
Oh gosh, I forget the names too, but I've definitely heard this one where he's like, run around the world, and he's like, ha, I'll show you, and then just runs around his mom.
Oh, and then there's also the one kid who I think it was he accidentally gets decapitated, and so his mother gives him an elephant head.
I mean, speaking of treating something very small like the world, there's a very similar beat like that in the Journey to the West,
I love Journey to the West.
Classical Chinese epic. Because in the very, very beginning...
I want to see if you agree. Sun Wukong is a Mary Sue.
No. You're not reading into it. Sun Wukong is the personification of the mind. And it is because he is all-powerful and almighty and restricted by his own impulsivity.
And the headband.
He is symbolic. They're all symbolic, jackass.
Okay, but...
You can't call an ancient Chinese mythological figure a Mary Sue and get away with it.
Okay, Zeus is a Mary Sue.
No! Zeus is a shitbag!
Yeah, he is. That's for later. Because we can fill a whole episode on Greek myths.
Sorry, I shouldn't be cursing so much. This is a family-friendly show.
No, it's not.
Let's talk about how Zeus raped at least a dozen women. No, we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Let's talk about how Sun Wukong begins his story as a mighty, all-powerful monkey king and wreaking havoc on the countryside because he's got nothing better to do because they didn't invent Fortnite yet.
Yeah.
And
Bro didn't have a weapon, so he walked up to this building.
All right.
And he took a column.
And can you let me speak?
Maybe.
I'm gonna, next semester, hyperfixation is gonna be a solo show. Sorry, folks, but as I was saying, so the actual goddamn Buddha shows up and is like, hey, can you, cut it out with the jackassery? And he's like, make me, asshole. And he goes, alright, fine, how about this? If you jump to the pillars of the world that hold up the sky and get back into my hand, I will, let you, fuck around and find out. Sun Wukong does a backflip for the bit, lands in the clouds at the 5 pillars of the world. One's kind of, offset from the rest, but it doesn't matter. Takes a piss on one, graffitis his name on another one, and backflips back into Buddha's palm, and Buddha's like, so, funny story. The world kind of is in the palm of my hand, and he holds up his hand, and it smells like monkey piss, and Sun Wukong's name is written on one of his fingers. And that's how Sun Wukong got trapped under a mountain. But the point is that the whole, cheeky using someone as the world is a very fun concept I like very much. And now we shall transition into something different because monomyth. Do you know what the monomyth is?
Maybe?
Victoria, do you know what the monomyth is?
I feel like I'm going to know this when I hear it.
There are many definitions of the monomyth. The most common is using the hero's journey, which is technically part of it. Something that is a part of the monomyth is something that shows up in enough mythologies and religions that it can be considered a universal theme. A great example of this is the Great Flood.
Oh, I was just gonna say dragons.
No, that's different. That's like a concept. Everything has its Great Flood. How does Ragnarok end?
Floods and the ship of nails, which is made of fingernails and toenails, not
That's
nails.
gross.
We're gonna ignore that part and move on to the... Do you know how the world ends and begins in Egyptian mythology?
The Sea of Chaos floods.
Mm-hmm. And quite possibly, do you know how the world ended in classic biblical lore?
Which
Bible study kid?
Which time? There was the flood with.
Thank you, that's all I needed.
There was the flood with what's his name?
Noah.
Noah. Yep. I can't remember if there's a flood during Revelations.
Enough mythologies
Noah
have the
and
Great Flood
the
myth.
Methuselah.
Thank you. Enough mythologies have the Great Flood myth that is considered part of the monomyth, and this is an example of what I'm trying to get at. That there are consistent threads through all myths. Another great one that I really love analyzing is the Journey to the Underworld myth.
There was a fun theory with the Great Flood myth that it's actually the melting of a lot of the ice from the Ice Age, and that's why it's the Great Flood.
Ooh, an interesting theory. I like to think it's just because the easiest way that people can think of killing a lot of other people is
Water.
lots of water. With the notable exception of Aztec mythology, and with the... I'm gonna mispronounce it, and I'm so sorry, and I feel like a fake fan, but the Tezcatlipoca, there were 5 of them. We are currently on the 5th world. The other 4 were all ended with wildly unusual apocalypses. Like, one of them, it didn't rain at all, and the sun burned so hot that everyone burned to a crisp one at a time. And then one time it rained jaguars. So
I love goofy myth stuff.
it's not even a goofy bit. The jaguars were symbolic. It's all symbolic. When you're studying mythology, it's all symbolic.
Yeah, but you can also look at it going,
It's a little goofy.
that's funny.
Sometimes it's goofy, like that one.
That one time Loki killed
We're not a
Balder.
family-friendly show. I can say that one time that Dionysus lost his male lover and was so bereaved that he made a wooden dildo, affixed it to his lover's grave, and immediately fucked himself up.
I love Dionysus. Mind you, so, can I just bring over this?
And that is the most vulgar this show will ever get.
So Dionysus...
Because that is a true myth that actually is believed
Yep.
and happened, and I am not making it up. It was a fig tree.
Yeah, so nowadays Dionysus is believed to be a god, correct? That is true. Everyone can agree Dionysus is one of the 12 Olympians. Back
You're
in the
gonna
day,
get into
he
the-
wasn't a god.
Just some
Believing in
guy.
Dionysus was a cult. They went on war campaigns. The Dionysus believers, just for the bit, went on a campaign in India.
Just for the... I connect. It actually was just for the bit.
And it's really funny because it leads to a lot of weird Greek myth stuff, like the Pandos, who were just some guys with just, like, ears the size of like a football.
Yeah, Dionysus is one of those extremely raunchy, extremely rowdy, extremely confusing gods that honestly,
I love him.
there's just so much. He was born from Zeus's balls.
Or his calf, or from Persephone. It depends on the myth. He doesn't have a consistent myth story.
I know.
There is the one where he was a demigod first, and then was raised up to be a god.
And then there was the one where he was raised as a girl.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Trans
also
Dionysus
let's also
canon.
bring this up. Myths are not consistent.
Yes.
They're very rarely consistent. There are some that stay consistent, like the death of Balder in Norse mythology, which I want to bring up because I love that myth.
Or the cycle of the death of the gods and titans in Greek.
I want to bring up the myth death of Balder. So Odin and his wife had 2 kids. I can't remember one of their name, but he was blind. And then there was the other boy, perfect little god of light, Balder. And Frigg started to have nightmares of, oh no, what if something happens to my little baby boy? Oh no. So she went, I know what I must do. I'm going to get everything in the world to promise to not hurt him. Notice I said everything, not everyone.
Every single thing.
She went to rocks. Imagine picking up this pebble. You go to the street, you pick up a pebble. Hey, bro, can you not, hurt my son? So then they had a party after she did it. And everyone starts chucking things and trying to kill Balder.
And it becomes their favorite party game.
And it doesn't work.
Because nothing can kill him.
So then Loki goes, she forgot something. Because he's pissed off. He's like, this little golden boy, he shouldn't be able to do this. This is bullshit. So he makes a little dart out of the tiniest little thing. Something we all know and love, especially this season in December, mistletoe.
Poisonous,
Yep.
by the way.
So he goes up to his blind brother and goes, hey, I know you're not involved in the fun. Let me help you. I'll help you guide this dart to hit him. So he gives it to the guy, lines up his throw, throws it at Balder, and kills him.
Womp womp.
Oh, yeah, no, he's fine, by the way. He's just chilling in hell with Loki's daughter now.
Oh, you missed the fun part.
What's the fun part?
The post-Ragnarok.
Oh, what happens in post-Ragnarok for Balder?
Oh, you don't know?
No, I don't know his
Well,
Ragnarok stuff.
post-Ragnarok, you know that
Oh, wait,
everything,
let's bring this
burn-
up. So for Ragnarok, we know every single thing that is going to happen in Norse Ragnarok.
In order.
They go, this is how this guy's gonna die, this is how this guy's gonna die. Frey, the guy I talked about earlier with his magical floating sword, he gave it up to some guys so that he could get a wife. He's a wife guy. Let's not get into all that. But yeah, he's a big wife guy. So
Big
he's
wife
fated
guy.
to have the fire giant Surtur take that sword, cut the chains of Fenris Wolf, and then stab Frey with it. Frey's fated to die by his own sword because he wanted a wife. Big wife guy. We love him.
So what happens in Ragnarok? Blah, 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 giant wolf, blah, 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 dragon, blah, 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 snake, blah, 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 axes, murder, poison, death, fire, ice, giants,
This
gods.
one guy survives.
Here's the thing. There is a hollowed out tree. And in this hollowed out tree are the last two humans, a man and a woman. And there is one god who is freed from the ashes of Ragnarok in the cold, desolate new world. Balder.
I thought Tyr survived too.
And he is Jesus!
Oh, that doesn't remind me of my favorite Norse myth of all time.
No. Can I please?
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
please? Please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. He's not Jesus. But you know who got to the Norse myths before modern mythologists and historians did?
Who?
The Christians!
Yup. Okay, can I bring up my favorite myth of all time?
Alright.
So there's a genuine Norse belief that Thor went, yo, Jesus, fight me, pussy. And Jesus just never showed up. So they just call him a coward because he didn't want to fight Thor. It's a genuine belief.
Yeah, the relationship between Christianity and Norse mythology is a very unique one that I choose not to dive into.
It's kind of funny, though. That myth is funny. I just want to bring up, all of Thor's myths are fucking hilarious.
I think that all myths should be studied in their own time because they're fantastic.
Yeah, I just want to bring up, so Odin went, hey, Thor, I want to give you this chariot and, like, some animals to pull it for you. So what do you want? And Thor goes, okay, Dad, hear me out. Give me some flying goats. But they're not just flying goats. I want to be able to kill them and eat them every single day, and they come back the next day. And their names are Teeth Grinder and Teeth Gnasher.
That's almost as bad as the time that Ares named his kids Fear and Terror.
Panic.
Fear and Panic.
Phobos Deimos.
Fear and Panic.
They're also childs of adultery.
Every child is a
And I was
child
gonna
of
say every-
adultery in Greek
I was gonna say, like,
mythology.
half the
Actually,
children.
not all of them.
I know
Phobos,
not all of
Phobos
them.
and Deimos are the children of love and war. Because I want to bring up Aphrodite and her husband Hephaestus. I love Hephaestus or Hephaestus. That's how you pronounce it. I normally go with Hephaestus. He was ugly. He was an ugly guy.
He wasn't just ugly, he was literally deformed because
Yeah.
he was chucked off the side of Olympus.
No, he was chucked off because he was ugly.
deformed. And then he became more deformed.
So, yeah, and mind you, it was not Zeus who did it. It was Hera.
It was Hera.
He didn't fit her perfect family. So she chucks him off, and he's really sad for a while. And the apology gift is, yo, who do you want to marry? And he goes, you know that really, really pretty goddess of love who looks like whatever your ideal human being looks like? Can I marry her? So they're married now. Except she loves Ares. She's, like, really in love with Ares. So she cheats on him all the time.
I like to imagine that it's actually just a poly relationship.
This is
I
the
like-
one time where you can't say that.
It's Greek myths. It's never poly.
I like to imagine that they are just in an agreement.
No.
No, this is like the
I'd
open
like to
relationship
clarify.
between Will Smith and
No.
You didn't hit it with the Will Smith.
I'd like to clarify that I'd like to imagine that.
Yeah.
It's not true. No one likes each other in this situation. But it would be nice to just imagine that Hephaestus is just so much of a wife guy, and Aphrodite just has so much love to give, and Ares is just still kind of a piece of shit, not gonna lie.
He's a piece of shit, but he's hot. Because he's the ideal warrior, which in Greek times was the ideal man, was a warrior. Also, I want to bring up this real quick. So, Greek myths. Zeus. We all know Zeus has a lot of kids. A lot of kids.
And they're all children
But also,
of adultery.
and I want to bring up, hey, what's Hera's domain?
Marriage.
And family.
Marriage and family.
Bro married the goddess of marriage and family and
And
cheats
then
on her
cheated on her.
religiously. Mind you, Hera is one of the only gods to ever not cheat. Has Hades cheated, actually?
I don't
No.
think so.
Okay, I want to bring
That's
this up.
the good part.
So, with the big three of Olympians, Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades, they're the three children of Kronos. Zeus is the worst one. He's an asshole. Just goes around just doing what he
problems.
wants.
Just
and
doing what he wants, and who he wants, and when he wants, and how he wants.
one time he did it as a mist.
And one time he was a swan, and one time he was a rain of golden shower
Yep.
in a jail cell, and
So he
one time he was a horse, and one time he was a bull, and
Which is
so
how you
on
get the
Yeah.
and
which is how you
so
get the
forth.
Minotaur.
No, actually. The Minotaur's a different story, but I'll get to that soon.
Yes, actually.
That is how you
That
get the
is
Minotaur.
actually-
There is a different interpretation of the Minotaur, which
he
is
became a bull, and a woman liked the bull so much that she commissioned
Wait, no,
a
No.
no, the
fursuit
Minotaur was
from
No,
Daedalus.
so, no.
No, the Minotaur was Daedalus.
The Minotaur was another bull that was not Zeus.
yes, the Minotaur specifically was
I think
so
Zeus
King
was
Minos.
related, though.
King
Zeus
Minos
was related.
King Minos, I can't remember what he did, but he was just a dick, and the gods hated him. So they punished his wife by making her fall in love with their prized bull.
No, punished him by making her fall. It's a very.
Yeah,
you
they
have to understand that Greek mythology is a huge mess of punishing men by associating with the women.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. He was an asshole, so they just fucked over his wife.
And by that, we mean made her really, really like this bull to the point of commissioning this engineer guy named Daedalus for a functioning fursuit so she could properly get with a bull. And this ended with a Minotaur and Daedalus and his son, I don't know if you've heard of him, Icarus, getting locked in a tower.
Not just tower, the labyrinth that Minos went, I'm ashamed of this. Daedalus,
A tower at the
make a
center.
labyrinth that's like unsolvable, and just put the Minotaur in the center of it. Also, I'm gonna lock you in it as well, along
No,
with your.
they weren't in the labyrinth.
They
There-
were locked in a tower separate from the labyrinth.
There are some interpretations where it's also the labyrinth. Depends on the interpretation.
It's important that it's a tower because of the
Also,
whole Icarus.
Also,
story.
his nephew was there as well, and
No, that was his son.
no, his nephew was also there at once, and Daedalus got really annoyed at him and threw him out the window.
Okay, that's really funny.
And then Aphrodite got pissed off and branded him with the image of a dove. But then Daedalus
It's really funny that he had his nephew there, and he was just like,
and
you're annoying as
and
hell.
Daedalus wanted to be free with his son, so he made these really beautiful wax wings, and they worked. They could fly. So they flew out. They managed to get over the sea.
But what
and
was
they
the
were having-
warning that he gave Icarus?
Don't go too high. The sun will melt the wax.
And don't go too low. The sea will make the wax too congested with salt water and
And-
start dissolving.
So then he goes. So then they start to fly. Daedalus having fun. Bro's a master. Bro's just flying around. Icarus also is having fun. A lot of fun. Too much fun. He starts to go up and up and up and up, and he reaches really high up. And then Apollo's sun chariot, Apollo that asshole. Actually, no, wait. We like Apollo. We like Apollo. Sorry. There are so many different interpretations where Apollo is either like the best guy imaginable or the biggest dick.
Like, he had this, like, cute little boyfriend guy that got murdered, and then he turned him into a flower, but he
Well,
also, low-key,
to be fair-
most of his other lovers were not that
To
consensual.
be fair, he was in a love triangle.
There was
He was in a gay love triangle with the wind.
there's this
damn
one
wind.
interpretation that I've heard of the Icarus story where the reason he went so close to the sun was because he saw it as Apollo, and he was in love with Apollo.
Which is
I mean,
also funny.
the thing is, they're not wrong. The sun is Apollo. It's Apollo riding his chariot.
My point is,
Or depending on how old you are, it can also be the titan of the sun. God's positions get shifted around. So, like, in some, depending on how long it was, time period, it was either Apollo driving the sun chariot or, what's his name? I can't remember right now.
Helios?
Helios. And the moon is either, I can't remember her name. Selene or Artemis.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how old you are. Fun fact, Apollo's chariot is pulled by fiery horses.
Nice.
Guess what Artemis's chariot is pulled by?
I don't know.
You know. So what can you imagine someone driving something across the night sky being pulled by?
This is another one of the monomyths, by the way.
Yeah. So guess what someone who travels the world in one night, getting in a flying vehicle.
Are you seeing where we're going?
What pulls that flying vehicle across the sky in one night, across the entire world in one night? Reindeer.
Oh, is this where the Santa sleigh thing comes from?
Not necessarily, but it's very funny. But the main monomyth is the army of the night or the stampede of the night. And another big thing with that is, oh god, what was it called? There was the night hunt, I think it was.
Which mythology?
That's the thing. We don't know. It was a folkloric story that could have come from anywhere, but we're thinking probably Odin. I will show you a video all about it after this. It's a long video, but it'll be worth it.
I'm trying to think of the Norse god of the night and the moon.
No, it was Odin.
Because that's the thing.
No, they did a whole analysis of the myth. It was Odin.
That's the problem, because it could also be Artemis, because she's the goddess of the hunt. Also, mind you, Greek myths are really cool, because there's a lot of women in the Greek myths who just went, screw marriage. Artemis literally went, screw marriage. I want to hang out with a bunch of really cool women and just shoot shit and just go hunt things.
She's me, for real.
Athena went, screw marriage. I'm too brainy for that.
Athena is...
Hestia is...
asexual.
Hestia, in some interpretations, is, like, one of the oldest gods, but also, like, sort of childified, which I kind of like. Hestia feels like... She's the goddess of the hearth and home, and it feels welcoming like that, you know what I mean? That's also Rick Riordan poisoning, because Rick Riordan, she was undercover as a camper at Camp Half-Blood.
Alright, yeah, that's Rick Riordan poisoning talking, because I've always seen Hestia as a very maternal figure.
One of my favorite things ever that Rick Riordan did is, canonically now, Hebe, the goddess of youth, has to be the youngest person in the room. So if there's a baby in the room, her age cranks younger than the baby. She turns younger than the baby.
What if the baby was just born?
She becomes a fetus, essentially.
She becomes premature.
Yeah, she becomes a baby. She will always be the youngest person in the room, which is really funny.
Wait, how much longer do we have?
We have
Still
half hour. But yeah.
Which means I still have time to talk about Japanese as well.
I kind of wanted to not really get in depth on it, because that's not really my place, but, like, touch on Native American folklore.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, they have cool
Please
ones.
do.
Myths are goofy, but also serious at times.
And I'm going to be
I've been trying to tell you this entire time that calling it goofy is an oversimplification.
I got way too off track of, so the big three of Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades. Zeus is the biggest asshole, cheats on his wife all the time. Poseidon does it sometimes.
We've already mentioned that Hades doesn't cheat.
Hades doesn't cheat, and also, anyone who interprets it as Hades is a bad husband and kidnapped her, I hate that interpretation.
Because those are mutually exclusive things. Yes, he kidnapped her. No, he's not a bad husband.
Because in that time, it was a normal thing. I love the interpretation of they were in love and it was a willing kidnapping.
But not likely.
It's not likely. But he's an incredible husband, and they do love each other. I love that interpretation. One of my favorite interpretations of Hades and Persephone ever is Hades Town, and anyone who disagrees, you're wrong. It's such a good interpretation, because it paints him as he's not a bad husband, he's just trying his hardest, and tries a little too hard. But we talked about that last episode.
Yes, we did. But I do want to point out, calling mythology goofy and a bit, while fun, is very...
Some of the stories can be very goofy, but as a whole, as much as there are goofy stories in there, there's really cool ones.
It's not just about being cool, it's about being important. Yeah. These stories aren't just funny stories. These are parts of culture that have built our world for thousands of years. They cannot just be reduced to a bit.
Yeah.
This is something bigger than you.
Okay, but the Thor marriage story
is also a big deal.
Really?
Yes. It is also foundational because that is one of the Here's the thing about Loki. That is one of the contributing stories to Loki's role not as a troublemaker, but as a cleaner-upper of messes, and signifies his role as a possible scapegoat. It builds his role in the grander mythos as someone who can clean up the messes of the gods by following them along in solving their problems
he was the one who came
and
up with-
helping them with his less than savory practices that will still work.
He came up with the idea of put Thor in drag.
Every story is important, no matter how silly you think it is.
Yeah.
Every story.
That doesn't mean that it can't still
one of
be
my favorite
silly.
It can be silly, but you cannot reduce
Yep.
it to just a bit.
Yep, one of my favorite stories actually though, that's part of Norse mythology, is so Loki's child Fenrir Wolf is a wolf that will one day eat the sun, kill Odin,
Long story.
do a lot of things during Ragnarok, and they had to chain it. So they put it in a secluded isle, surrounded him with a bunch of flowers that make him weak, but also the rope they chained him with. What is the rope forged of?
A lot of things.
Not rope. It's not forged of any fiber.
Yeah, why did you keep
It's-
calling it a rope? It's a chain.
It's a chain forged of paradoxes. Let's see. Some of the ones I know are Beard of a Woman, which
Which is not as paradoxical as they thought it was, but
Yeah.
go off, Queen.
I kind of want to look this up because I know there's some really funny ones. So they've reforged a new one in the Rick Riordan ones, and some of the funny ones like an interesting math lecture.
Okay, that's funny. That's funny because that's kind of true. That's
Chains of Slipnir. Also, yeah, it's Slipnir. Slipnir, strongest out. Bound the wolf by the snout. Chains of Slipnir ingredients.
I'm just watching Jordan right now.
Look.
Jordan's playing a rhythm game, by the way.
The rhythm game helps me focus on conversations more than you think.
I'm trying to find what are the
I
ingredients.
had that whole tirade about this being more than just a silly, goofy
Okay.
hyperfixation. Half of it was while I'm still playing the same song.
Okay, so Glipnir, Slipnir depends on the. Also, spelling in myths are.
Oh, don't even get me started on spelling.
It's always different.
Norse mythology is practically like a cat, bus, ant, apple,
Yep.
ass, elementary spelling compared to Welsh.
But also,
Have you seen
no,
Welsh spellings?
Also important thing.
Have you seen how they spell push?
Spelling is never consistent in myths. It's always different. There's so many different ways to spell things. So, Slipnir is as thin as Sarsok and is made from 6 things: the stomping of cats can stomp. It's just they're quiet. The beards of women can grow beards. The roots of mountains. I mean, do mountains have roots?
No.
Yeah. Okay, that works. The spit of a bird. I don't know. Do birds spit?
No.
Okay. The breath of fishes. And do fish breathe?
Technically,
Not
yes.
in the same way we do.
Yes, but
Technically,
they-
yes, but they don't have breath.
And the sinew of a bear.
I feel like all creatures have sinew, but I feel like sinew meant something different back then that would make bears less likely to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, myths have really cool things like building a chain out of the different paradoxes in the world to hold the strongest being in the world.
I want to go into so many things. I want to go into how there was a Tezcatlipoca that was literally just a black sun that omitted all light and caused life to die out, and they got upset and then made it rain jaguars.
Oh.
I also want to get into the part where there was a flayed pony thrown at the goddess of the sun, and she got so upset that she hid in her cave until they brought
Yeah.
a rooster and a naked woman to goad her out. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking
Lesbian.
about.
Japanese one.
I'm a Tarasu in the cave.
Oh wait, also I just remembered something.
No, she's not a lesbian. Do you want to know why?
Why?
It's symbolic again. She is the goddess of the sun and the day. She was goaded out by the goddess of the morning and the dawn.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, but also I want to bring up one thing, another modern myth I remembered. The sun getting eaten by an animal.
The sun getting eaten, the moon getting eaten, the stars getting eaten, all
So,
very, very...
The sun gets eaten by Fenrir in Norse mythology. Egyptian, it gets eaten. I can't remember.
Egyptian is the most prominent. Ra on his sun barge is completely consumed by the world snake. Or not the world snake.
I can't remember its
No,
name.
no. Not the world snake. The snake is inside the world.
Yeah.
It is consumed by the goddess Nut, who is the sky. She is not the goddess of the sky. She is the sky. She is holding an eternal arch over the
Yep.
world. Consumed by her, travels through her body, goes through like 13 trials or something, is killed, resurrected every single night, is given birth to again.
Yeah.
Is birthed, goes across the sky, continues again. The end of the world is when he doesn't come out.
The end of the world is when he gets eaten. Is when he gets just fully eaten.
The end of the world is when he is consumed by the snakes that are already inside the journey of Newt.
Okay, so then.
Also, it's spelled like nut.
Yeah, which is funny.
A little funny.
Let's see. Let's see. Does Apollo ever get eaten? Greeks don't really have... The Greek gods never lose. That's a stupid thing that I hate, but they
don't lose because it is a perception that if they did lose, the end of the world would be encroaching, and they're not as friendly to end of the world myths as everyone else.
So it's survivorship bias, basically.
Because
a lot of myths do have end of the world myths. It's that they're not partial.
It's because with a lot of mythology, the myths are long before. Whenever they're being told, the myths are being sold as they're long before. The Greeks said, screw that. The myths we are telling are actively happening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
which means they don't have an end of the world myth.
My bro Theseus right there, that bro's actually Zeus's kid.
Exactly. Everything that was happening to them was happening immediately.
Wait, no, was Theseus Zeus or Poseidon's kid?
Theseus was a jackass.
He's Poseidon. Oh yeah, he's terrible. Bro picked up a woman on his way there and went, oh, this woman's prettier. I'll just leave this woman on the shores of some foreign part of Greece.
To be fair, didn't Dionysus come get her and make her life a million times better? And
okay, that's the thing. He did that multiple times over. He
Dionysus
did that first to Medea,
great.
Then he did it to Ariadne, the woman who helped him get to the center of the labyrinth. Ariadne, and who helped him get to the center of the labyrinth. And he just threw her away. And Dionysus saw her and went, yo, want to be a god with me and be my wife? And she is. Also, that's a very common thing. Oh, want to know a really fun thing for Zeus being an asshole? So we saw this boy who was very, very pretty.
Yeah, just in case you were wondering, Greek mythology is A, pretty queer in our modern eye, and B, not made any more tolerant or okay by it.
Yeah.
Don't glorify the gayness of that mythology. It's still rape.
There's some cases where it's not, like Apollo and Hyacinthus.
Okay, Apollo and Hyacinthus are cute.
It's so cute. Okay, I just want to tangent away from Zeus and Ganymede, which I'll get back to.
Ugh.
Apollo and the West Wind Zephyr both fell in love with this man named Hyacinthus, who was incredible, kind,
just
amazing.
Cute prince. He was just a cute prince.
Apollo and they were jealous of each other. And one day Apollo was playing a game called Quates, which is like horseshoes but with rings.
Mind you, this was like his third date with Hyacinthus. He was officially like getting in on it.
Yeah, they were in love.
He was winning.
So Zephyr's really, really, really jealous. So when Apollo throws the next Quate, Zephyr's blinded by rage, and he goes, screw you! Blows the wind right in Hyacinthus' skull. And here's the thing, you recognize the name Hyacinthus because of Hyacinth, the flower.
Because Apollo turned him into a little flower.
Apollo, whenever he has a lover that he loves, he memorializes them, because he's never won a lover. Apollo was never married. He is the story of many failed loves. And we can get into the next one, which is really messed up, Daphne, after I do Ganymede. So, and then Apollo goes, I can't lose you forever. And he turns Hyacinthus into a hyacinth, the flower that I love.
Here's the problem. A lot of those plants that Apollo made were not results of failed loves because he was so lovesick and love-stricken. It is because some of them didn't want anything to do with him.
Okay, Daphne's story is more complicated, though.
But some of them legitimately didn't want anything to do with him.
He is both an asshole and also...
Poor baby.
He's a Nepo baby, but also a hopeless romantic.
He's a hopeless romantic that also needs to go about it a better way.
Yes.
So he's a predator.
He's a hopeless romantic in a time when a hopeless romantic is what we would now consider a predator.
Yes, because Apollo's big sin was he saw a pretty face and he fell in love immediately.
Yes. And at the time, falling in love immediately was a good justification for what he did.
So I want to finish up this myth of Ganymede. So Zeus saw this really pretty boy that he liked a lot. Mind you, this guy was like a child, like a teenager at best.
Yeah, he was a teenager.
So Zeus went, screw this, kidnaps the kid, takes him up to Mount Olympus, and makes him his cupbearer and immortal, and makes him fill the toast, and constantly brags to other people like, look at how pretty this guy is, look at how pretty he is. Zeus is an asshole. He kidnapped a child.
You have to understand that the ideal of men to be loved by other men, not to love other men, to be loved by, there was a very clear dichotomy
Show him off.
Was young.
Yep.
And pretty.
Ganymede was there not to be loved by Zeus. Zeus did not love the boy.
To be looked at.
He loved to show off, like, look at how pretty he is. He constantly complimented Ganymede to the much ire of Hera, which I love, which is very funny.
Sorry, Mackenzie sent this image in chat.
Okay, so then I want to get into Daphne. Apollo fell in love with this woman named Daphne. With this dryad, she was a nature spirit. She was a laurel tree. And he loved her a lot, and it was a little bit mutual.
A little bit.
A little bit. And it was probably growing with time. It would have grown with time, as natural love does. But Apollo's also the god of archery. And incredibly, incredibly egotistical with his archery skills along with his sister. He constantly brags he's better with his sister, and he screwed up because he went to Eros, or as we might call him, by his Roman name, Cupid. And he told him, yo, dude, you suck. I'm so much better than you. Boils down to that. That's not exactly what he said, but essentially he just insulted him, saying he was better. So then Eros went, okay. And Eros had two types of arrows. We all know the arrows that make you fall in love. But he had a different type of arrows, where if you shoot if you shoot someone with it, it saps any possible love that they had for that person, and does the inverse.
The arrow of hate is not just hatred, though. It exposes their true nature.
But it also partially saps out the love. That is part of it. The love that would have been there was now gone. And Daphne hated Apollo, and Apollo wasn't sure why. He didn't know that Eros did this, and he kept chasing her because he loved her. Deep down in his heart, Apollo, all of these women that he did this to, it wasn't for any bad reason. It was because he truly, truly loved them, as much as his methods were terrible. And she went to the goddess of the earth and went, please, he won't leave me alone. Can you just turn me into a full tree? I don't want to be a dryad anymore. Turn me into a full tree. And Apollo, chasing her one day, watches as she walks into the tree and never comes back out.
Yeah.
And in remembrance, mind you, she was a laurel tree. What did Greeks give when you win the Olympics? A laurel wreath. The reason he made that was that he could commemorate, so that other people would win, and he could commemorate the girl that he could never win.
Cute. A little creepy. Victoria, I wanted to give you a chance to interrupt Phoenix's endless tirade on nothing but Greek mythology, even though I wanted to acknowledge all world mythologies today.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Have fun.
You've been going on for a while.
I know.
Yeah,
I know Greek and Norse.
I will
best.
mute your mic.
It's been about 15 minutes.
I will mute your mic.
Yeah, go on. Have fun.
No, so
My
basically,
dear, you had something about Native American folklore you want to say.
I'm going to be a little careful about this because you guys know this. I'm not the most superstitious, but I have some very specific things that I am.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
Huh?
I think I know what you're going to talk about. I'm superstitious about it too.
In general, a lot of Native mythology, and obviously there's a whole bunch of different groups. They have different mythologies depending on where you are. The ones that we know most commonly tend to be Southwest or what's directly around us, but the most popular ones are Southwest. So I'm going to acknowledge that first. But a really common thing in most Native mythologies is you do not say the name of anything.
Nope.
No.
You do
Any
not
monster.
say the name of anything.
You don't say the you.
That's actually a common thing in all mythos,
The
which I like.
thing. No.
No, but
it's
in
different.
particular
Yeah.
here,
Because it's not just the threat of it knowing you're talking about it.
it's that
It is
it will
basically
bring it.
ringing
It's a
the
summoning, yeah.
dinger bell.
Yeah.
So there's
The thing that
there are two major ones. There is the one that steals your shape.
I like to do it by wiping my hand on the back of my other hand and then making a little treading motion on the
Yes.
table.
So there is
epidermis.
The flesh treader.
The
Let's
flesh
call it that.
shredder.
Epidermis strider.
Epidermis strider.
yes.
For those of you who can translate those things, don't say it out loud, please.
Please don't say it out loud.
Yes,
Please
that
don't
is
say
one
it
of
out
the
loud. Please don't say it
few
out loud.
things
Please
that
don't
I
say it out
am
loud.
superstitious about.
I'm incredibly superstitious
Oh
about
yeah.
it.
With mythology specifically, I'm superstitious as hell.
But yeah, these two can tell you I am not very superstitious about most things. I am this is happening because of this usually. But I can get very, especially about the gate on campus, because here's the thing, most colleges have the whole superstition of, oh, don't walk through the gate once you've started college, otherwise you're not going to graduate on time. So the weird thing about our campus is, for us, it's don't walk under the bell tower. I don't care about the bell tower. I
do.
care about the gate.
I care about the bell tower.
I do both. I don't walk under the bell tower, and I walk under one of the side gates
Yeah, that's
instead
what
of
I
the
do.
regular one.
Yeah, because
I will
I
graduate on
remember
time.
a
I will
couple
graduate
people
on
have
time.
asked
I will
me
graduate on time.
whenever we're walking out that way why I do that. And it's just
My parents are
instinctively.
one of them.
Instinctively, I refuse to go through the center gate.
So the problem is, I already walked under the bell tower because no one warned me. And I wasn't paying attention. I was having a conversation with Garrett.
But basically, back to this one. So there are two different interpretations of this particular myth that I've heard. One is that they are on their own. They are creatures. They are inhuman completely. They are creatures that just, steal your form. There is one that I've heard though where they are like witches, where if you look them in the eye, then they can steal your form.
Isn't there one where they don't have a form and they take it because they don't have one?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is that, but that is along the lines of they are creatures. And then so the other myth in particular that I wanted to mention is, I'm also not going to say this one, but if you've watched My Little Pony, you know the things when everyone gets like really pissed at each other and suddenly it gets really cold.
What synonym can we go for?
There is no synonym because
Can you pull up the My Little Pony episode and show me so I don't have to say the name out loud?
I'm trying to think, because I know some Native
Where
American
I
myths.
remember the episode, I don't remember
Like,
what it's called.
I know some Native American myths, like the snake song, which I think is a really cool one.
But basically, I'm gonna describe it. Is so depending on the source, they tend to have, they're like emaciated humans. They have like antlers.
I just remembered
Oh,
what
yep,
it is.
yep.
So
it's
there's a couple
breezy.
interpretations.
It sounds kind of like the other word for breeze,
Yeah.
and then the opposite of cum. What are you looking at it?
I'm trying to think, because I here's the problem. I can imagine it, and it's on the tip of my tongue.
You don't want to say it anyway.
I don't want to, but I want to know
say
what it is.
Anyway, do you count writing it down?
Depends. But basically,
It's the one with the antlers and the skull and the emaciated form.
This
The
is
one
thing.
that
I have it in my head, but
the
I
one
can't
that
remember the name.
brings winter winds and sour aromas of rotting flesh.
basically, again, there are two interpretations that I've heard. One is the hatred interpretation, which is usually told to children,
Mhm.
like very specifically not Native children, because obviously if you're Native, you're going to know the actual story. I've heard like the hatred interpretation, like that is what brings them around. However, the real story that I know of is that is what happens when someone succumbs to the urge to eat human flesh.
Yeah.
I just remembered what its name is. Begins with W. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does begin with a W.
So
And you won't say
those
it.
are the two things that I wanted to talk about. Though I do know this is also where we get or one of the many places we get the stereotype of the trickster fox.
It is also where you start to encroach on the area of folkloric creatures and
Yeah.
cryptids,
Yes.
I like the.
which is still a very integral part of mythology.
When it comes to mythology, I am far more into the creatures than the actual stories.
It is also a situation of distinctualizing between folklore and mythology, and I think where you're coming from is more folklore than mythology,
I know a Cherokee
but
story
I still
that
really
like.
like it.
I'm far more into folklore.
Can I say a Cherokee story that I really like, which is really cool?
Alright.
It's a story of the snake song. So there was a man and a woman, and the man killed a snake, but it was the king of snakes. And as penance, the woman had to give up her husband. But you see, she gave up her husband to the snakes and he died. But they gave her something back in exchange, because in Native American myth it is very common that while you sacrifice something, even if you're making up for something, it is still eye for an eye, you're going to get something out of it. She learned the song of the snakes. That song, if you start singing that song or play that song, it's a snake charm song. And if you play that song, she would be recognized by the snakes. And the reason I know that, can you guess why I know that?
Go on.
Fun fact, Rick Riordan has a Native American character. And throughout the story, she gets more and more in touch with her native roots and starts telling different stories. I'd say there's certain parts of her that aren't the best. Like, at a certain point, she starts, like, weaving, like, a harpy feather into her hair.
Okay.
She's a Cherokee. It's, like, similar to an eagle feather.
All right.
But at the end of her story, she goes back to the reservation that she was raised on, that she partially was raised on. And she has a very nice story arc, actually.
That's dope. I think I don't have enough time for the Japanese story I wanted to recount for you.
Can you spark notes it?
Sure. So, Mount Fuji, right?
Yeah.
So, there's this huntsman and his wife, and they, some way or another, very, very long story as to how they did it, they managed to come into the possession of this little elixir of immortality, where you have two options, and you either A, feel like I'm getting my myths mixed up, because there's a lot of elixirs of immortality floating around in Japanese mythology. Forget the Mount Fuji one for a second. I think that is a separate one. It involves an emperor and the tale of Princess Kaguya. Here's the thing. A huntsman and his wife come into ownership of a single elixir of immortality. Drinking half of it will make you immortal forever. Drinking the full one will make you a god. They have it. They take on an apprentice in the huntsmanship role who hears and takes wind of this elixir that the couple hasn't drank because they just want to grow old together and they don't know what to do with it. Because becoming immortal without godship is empty and hollow sort of thing.
Yeah.
So one night he breaks into the house and tries to steal it, and the wife, in a dramatic act of self-sacrifice, drinks the full solution and becomes the goddess of the moon, and every night the hunter, sacrifices part of his hunt to the moon because that is his wife, and then it becomes and then rabbits are very closely connected because of the huntsmanship.
The moon rabbit.
Yep.
Yes, and speaking of the moon, Tale of Princess Kaguya, I'm gonna get both in one. I swear to God, I'm gonna get both in one. There was this bamboo cutter who was cutting bamboo, and all of a sudden, one day, the gold just starts coming out of the bamboo. And then one day, something even more interesting starts coming out of the bamboo. It's a girl.
Yeah.
It's a girl, and her name is Kaguya. And they start raising Kaguya as their own. She grows to be one of the most beautiful women in the land. The emperor wants her to be his wife. She feels kind of mid about that, and also everything else in life for some reason. And she's also very fascinated with the moon. It is later realized that she's a spirit of the moon that was strayed to Earth, and that the only way that she can go home is to have her memory of Earth wiped. But she left behind for the emperor, who she did love, but more as a friend than as a lover, a letter explaining everything and a solution of immortality, but he said that a life without Kaguya is a life empty, and chucked it into Mount Fuji.
Nice.
Those are the two immortality solution stories that I know
Also,
of Japan. What?
to roll back to monomyth. Hey, want to know another monomyth?
Well,
The elixir of immortality.
yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. It's just very common in Japanese mythology.
Yeah.
And I am out of breath, and now we have 3 minutes left.
Real quick.
Wait, can we... Oh, wait, what do you want to say?
There is this one very specific Chinese myth about having to shoot down the suns. I forgot how many suns it was originally. 7 suns. And I forgot if it was the intention
Jade Emperor.
No, I forgot if the intention was to bring it down to 0, or if the intention was so that there was only one sun.
I think it was only one, because the sons were the son of someone.
I think
And the Jade Emperor commissioned the mightiest huntsman to shoot them down because they were getting too hot, right?
I don't remember. I just know that there is a story
All I know
about
is
them
the Jade
shooting down
Emperor
the
is
sun.
like a fucking icon.
Oh, I just want to bring up, though, as we're bringing that up, please, for those of you who want to, research Journey to the West, because while it is, like, a really cool story, it is, as much as we hate the thing, it is very deep, it is very look into, it also can be very goofy at times.
It can't. I am telling you
Yeah, I
this.
know. It is deep.
Mythology can be goofy. It can be goofy. It is not just goofs.
Yeah.
You need to.
Journey to the West is really cool, really deep, as it
Yes.
is also, it is Journey to the West, but it's also Sun Wukong's journey to Nirvana.
Engage with it as a classical text, not just as a story presented to you in a modern context.
Yes.
Speaking of Journey to the West, though, Game Awards last night,
Ooh.
one of the games that was announced is a game version of Journey to the West.
It is called Wukong. It is a Souls-like.
Do you play as Sun Wukong?
I do not know, but I know it's a Souls-like.
Because if you could play as any of the characters, that would be fun as hell.
It's Sun Wukong, and the way you level up is just like the golden head match, just gets a little less tight. Mind you, the golden headband is literally a headband that he wears to keep his powers in check.
And it's not of his own volition. It is put on his head by the monk Tripitaka, who is the actual main character.
And anytime he says the word, it just gives him, like, the worst migraine.
He needs to recite a mantra, yes.
It just squeezes his head. But that's all the time we have for today.
But that is literally all the time we have.
It has been a wonderful semester with all of you listeners.
It is, what a hell of a finale. One of the least organized hyperfixations.
I mean,
second only to Fossil Fighters, I know.
To be fair, mythology is not organized.
To be fair, mythology was never organized. If you're interested, please do your own research or come find us on campus.
Hey.
We'll be sticking around for a little longer because finals are a hell that no one can escape.
So, Jordan, how do they find you?
How do they find me? I am the usually short person with short purple hair, but I just got these sick platforms, so now I'm going to be more like average height.
You're still kind of short. It's you become 5'4".
I'm the 5'4" person with short purple hair and
now
a hoodie.
I am the tall person with purple hair and circle frame glasses for the last time this semester.
What, are you going to come back with different frames or something?
Wait,
no, but it's the last time I'm signing off.
You know what a running trend next semester should be for me? Every time I say a different way that you can find me, because every single day I'm doing something really, really weird.
Yeah.
That would be really funny.
How do we find you, Victoria?
Well, right now, it's going to be, you'll hear me before you see me, but also, I have been crocheting Christmas presents over the last several days.
You can also find her at the Alpha Sig party.
The Alpha Sig party.
So, thank
Which
you.
I'm also going to.
And me too. But thank you for hyperfixating with us. It has been an honor.
Yes.
See you hopefully next semester.
Thank you for letting me ramble.
Season. Thank you for letting us all ramble. Hyperfixation out.
For the semester.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Happy holidays.
And good luck on finals to all you fellow
Good luck
college
on finals.
students.
Good gods.